Becoming a spiritual vegan is about control. Um, what is a spiritual vegan? It doesn't mean that I'm, or anyone else who's a spiritual vegan right now, is above other people, that they are, like enlightened. In this culture, we have a way of getting stuck in paradigms of like pyramids and circles. So we tend to think in like pyramids, where it's like, oh, this person is better at this than me, and like people above them are better at this, and then there's the masters at the top. And I'm not trying to. I'm trying to like break you out of that thought pattern, to understand what I'm trying to express here, because it's not like that. Um, you could look at it that way if you want to a degree, but it's more fluid than that. Um, it doesn't mean that you never get angry, or that you don't make mistakes, that you're an enlightened master and you stay enlightened for always, and you never, slip from that. It doesn't mean that at all. There are different levels of veganism, I think. And I'm not the first one to say this. This is just part of a message that I'm spreading, that I've heard and that I agree with. There is the first stage of veganism, when a person first becomes vegan in the beginning, where they can be a closet vegan and want to keep it to themselves, not do any advocacy for it, not. They'd rather that people didn't know they were vegan, even, um, because they're having to deal with outside forces and how others' comments are making them feel and things like that. It's uncomfortable. So there's the closet vegan, um, and there's the shallow vegan stage in the beginning. It's where you first are becoming vegan, you want to become vegan, you do, and then you've become vegan for kind of shallow reasons. You're looking at it strictly as a diet, like what you're eating, or you're doing it because you don't condone animal cruelty, which is not a shallow thing, but there's so much more to it. It's like falling down the rabbit hole. You just started falling down. There's a lot more down there over time, you realize, if you allow yourself. So that's the first stage is either a closet vegan or like the shallow vegan. But then the waters start getting deeper, and the next stage is the angry vegan. And I think this is perfectly natural for all of us. Once we wake up and we realize that animals are not objects on a deeper level, that we have been treating them like they were, and that it's unethical, and we realize how much suffering is going on because of what we used to do, and what others are still doing, consuming animal products. We realize, how many sentient beings, animals are suffering horrendously. We realize, what it's doing to the planet. We realize, how it's affecting us, droughts and things like that, because of how it's affecting the planet. We realize that we're all connected. We realize that other people's actions are hurting us too, and they're hurting others that we care about, and we're angry about that. And when we're interacting with other people and they're not changing, they won't wake up, they're sticking to their old beliefs, their old habits, they continue doing these things which we know are causing so much suffering and devastation. And it's not just animals and us and the environment either, the planet as a whole. There are a lot of facets to this. People in third world countries, hunger, just a lot of things. But anyway, we're really angry about these things. And we're angry at other people because, we've made this change. We woke up and we realized what was going on, and now we're trying to make things better with our actions, and they're not listening to us. We're telling them the truth. We're telling them what we discovered. We want them to change as well. We want things to get better, and we're angry that it's not happening. We're angry at people's comments to us because they hurt, where they seem stupid. It seems like a stupid comment. It seems really arrogant or selfish. Whatever it is, we're angry. And from there, we can move on into what is called the spiritual vegan stage. And that's where we start to release some of that anger. We start to channel it in more helpful ways that aren't causing us ill health, emotional, mental, physical ill health, ways that are more productive, and we're finding some more inner peace. This is really about control, I feel. This is the insight that I got in the message from my higher self, from my intuition, spirit guides, whatever you want to call it, that I should do the video about. Ever since we were born into this life and on this planet, I see that we had tons and tons of lessons in control. And it's just continuing on. If we were born into this culture that I'm talking about, where people ate a Western diet, ate animal products, we have been indoctrinated to think that we have control over other animals and to use our control, our power of being stronger to dominate and control them. Sure, when you're a baby and you're being fed animal products, you are not actually going to a chicken and putting them in a small cage and controlling how many eggs they lay by manipulating their lighting and things of that nature, their food supply. But that's what's going on behind the scenes, and you're eating the product of it. And as we grow up, we have to deal with others having control over us, right? Our parents, then we get sent to school. A lot of us, most of us, get sent to a school where the teacher and the principal, there's a whole chain of command where others have control over us. And this goes on and on and on throughout our lives in manifests in different ways. Then, typically people will need to get a job where they have people who are superiors, bosses, and supervisors and things who are ultimately in control of what's going on, and they get to there's rules that we're supposed to obey, and there's consequences if we don't, and they're controlling to a large degree chunks of our time so that we can make money and pay for shelter and food and things of that nature, things that we want. We're taught to believe that the government controls us. It might not be directly told to us that the government controls us. In fact, in the United States, it's told to us the opposite, kind of, which told, you know, that we're the freest country in the world. We have all this freedom. But when you look at, you know, there's that whole talk is cheap thing. There's like talking the talk, walking the walk. Well, something that happens a lot, or has happened a lot in this culture, is people will talk and then walk the exact opposite. So what's happened is, you know, there's been that talk, but then there's all of these laws. You know, there's the law that you can't smoke marijuana. There's, you know, all of these laws and things so that you realize on some level that you have the belief, I shouldn't say you realize, you have the belief on some level that you are under the control of all of these other people, the government, your bosses, your landlord, you know, all of this stuff. And we see control dynamics playing out in places where you might not think that they would need to. You might think that, like, oh, those things need to be in place. You know, we need to have cops, we need to have the government, we need to have landlords, we need to have all that, and bosses, and they need to be in their positions and control over situations that we're participating in, so therefore over us to a degree. But then you see, like, your love relationships. People choose partnerships and love relationships, and they get into partnerships, one-on-one partnerships. And there's still control dynamics playing out back and forth. People trying to control each other, trying to control situations, and so on. And you can see it in friendships. You can see it in so many different areas, right? And people who are eating animal products are just going along with that programming of that being the way that life is. A struggle for control, you know. One person controls another person, you know, somebody's in control over another. And they have in their minds, that's just normal and natural for them, that they have control over species who are weaker than them. And they eat them. And it's hard for some people to make the connection and think anything about that other than that's the way it is. That's the way it is. And I think some people actually feel in a false sense of empowerment because they're living their lives feeling control over them so much of the time. When they go to a store and they pick out what they're eating, and they're picking out dead bodies, and they're eating, an animal, milk, or dairy, eggs, that kind of thing, they feel like they're in control because that's what they've learned, that like power is having control over another being. So the few hours where they're not at a job feeling like others are controlling them, they're not fighting with their landlords or their spouse or any of that, their parents, they're not having struggles for power, when they're losing, they are eating animal products and they're feeling in control. I get to choose what I eat. You hear that sometimes when you're vegan and people are, don't tell me what to eat, and I'm gonna eat whatever I want to. And well, I feel like this whole life is so much about lessons in control and power, and what false power is and false control, and what true power is and true control is. Unfortunately, some people have been dying without ever feeling truly empowered, or never feeling much true power. just living in this false matrix of power and control that I just described. So I feel like moving from the stage of angry vegan to spiritual vegan, and even from shallow or closet vegan to angry vegan as well, they are actually, it's about, you're getting lessons about what true power is, and you're moving in the right direction, and you're experiencing more true power and less false. You're letting go of the paradigm. This, I don't know if this is a word or not, but I'm just going to throw it out there. Being vegan is about re-paradigming control. It's about changing your paradigm, the whole thoughts and belief systems. Google paradigm if you don't know what it is. Changing the paradigm of what control is. So I think I got a little off track because I was talking about the stages. Moving from each stage, I think, is like washing away the grit and the muck off your window that kept you from seeing clearly. It's washing away all this negativity and the lies, the programming, the false programming, and living more in the truth. Moving from angry vegan to spiritual vegan is about control. It's giving you more lessons in control, what it is, what true empowerment is. I mean, when we're angry vegans, we're upset because others are dominating and forcing control over innocent, sentient beings, and we know that they feel, and we know that they deserve better than that. We know that they have a right to their lives. We know that it's not right. It hurts us. We know that we, deep inside, we know that we have a right to our freedom and to our lives, to live our lives without being like satanically abused. That's what it is. I mean, without having our natural, instinctive functions thwarted and dominated and controlled by another being. We have a right not to live, in bondage, not to be just, I get this image of like being tied up like a mummy, wrapped up like a mummy. Like, we have the right to move our limbs about, and a lot of these animals aren't even getting that much. It's very perverse, and it's very upsetting because all of our lives we've been living in this system, and we're just so sick and tired of it. We're just so tired of it. It's not in alignment with nature. It's not right. It's perverse, and we feel that, and it's upsetting. Becoming a spiritual vegan is starting to realize that the system, realize things for what they are, that there's this false matrix paradigm that a lot of people have, that they're just operating within this paradigm, these beliefs, and it's about learning things that you thought you didn't have control over that you actually do, learning that you have control over them, and stepping into your power and your control and feeling better for it. And it's about letting go of the struggle to have control over things that you want to have control over, that you deeply desire to have control over, letting go of it and accepting that you don't have control over. So moving to the spiritual vegan stage, I, for myself, have found that it has a lot to do with inner work. I have control over me. I don't have control over my neighbors or any other one person. I can't make them go vegan. I can't make them, if I'm standing in the store, I can't make them put something down and not buy it. I can't make them hear what I'm saying and recognize it as truth. I can't make them believe me. I can't make them make good changes for themselves and everyone else concerned. I can't make them care. But I have control over me. I can control whether I learn effective communication skills. I can control whether I take good care of my health. I can control whether I do the things I need to do to have endurance to speak with people and not grow so irritable and tired that I can't put up with it. The strength and endurance to be there when people do have questions, when, difficult conversations are arising, things that make me uncomfortable, things that are out of my comfort zone, but I feel it's right for me to say them. I can control whether I am strong enough, whether I have enough endurance, whether I have enough inner peace, courage, confidence to say them or not, whether I'm too burnt out and angry. I can control whether I isolate people or whether I include them in my circle of compassion to a large extent. And, I can control whether I'm shut off to learning and receiving information from spirit from other people who are wiser in certain, who have more experience, who might have information that I don't yet. Whether I'm open-minded is what it boils down to. Or whether I'm shut off and I'm closed-minded and I'm not accepting new possibilities. So there's a lot. I should probably just keep going on because I've realized, it's not about just saying I don't have any control over, all of these things. It's not about just realizing you have no control and finding inner peace and letting things be. It's also about realizing where you do have power and where you do have control, but that you have been trained and programmed, indoctrinated, I have at least throughout my whole childhood, my life, to look the other way and feel powerless. Think that I don't have power in this way, in the ways that I truly do. And there's lots of ways that this happens. There's lots of things, like I said, not just like, okay, first and second grade, I was taught that I didn't have control. No, it's been, the system is set up so that you can just keep on being programmed that you are powerless for your whole life. It's all in the way you think about things and how you use your power, whether you accept and believe that you are powerless or whether you keep an open mind and learn about your true power and stand in your true power and develop your power. I feel that's, this is my experience. We were programmed to think we are just these little specks in time. There were just these little specks the earth is this big place and or small place doesn't really matter, because the universe is huge. And so in relation to the universe, we are just specks, and nothing that we do matters. And that is one of those big lies. What you do matters a great deal, a very great deal. That is part of the programming to convince you that you are powerless, is to tell you, like, you're just a little speck in relation to all of these other things. In relation to the universe, you're just a speck. So whatever you do in this life, it really doesn't matter that much. So go ahead and do whatever. Because they've also got you set up to follow their system, to eat animal products, to go to jobs that you don't like and suffer through them. Just all of these things. And taking back your power and your control and realizing, no, I don't have to do what I think is expected of me. I don't have to do what the norm is. I don't have to follow. I don't have to be doing what everyone else is doing. I can get my answers within. I can, meditate and be quiet and be receptive. And I can get information from myself, from spirit, from my heart. If you learn to listen to your heart, to spirit, to tune in your senses, you can get information and guidance. But people have been taught, to stay really, really busy, and keep doing things for other people, and slave away at a job so you can afford to eat. And, this is normal. This is what everybody has to do. And so people are doing that, and their minds are so busy. Everything's so busy. They have so much false information. There's so much suffering that they're disconnected from their heart. They're disconnected from their own mind, heart. And, some Asian, that's what it gets called in some Asian cultures. It's like one thing, the mind, heart, I think. So, you're connected to source, to intuition, to God, if you want to call it God, or goddess, or gods and goddesses, or I think I said source, higher self, whatever you want to call it. You are connected. And people have been led so far astray that they're looking outside of themselves for all of the answers. I don't know what to do about my relationship. My boyfriend, my girlfriend is treating me like this. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. You, please tell me what to do. You, please tell me what to do. Looking for advice from the outside all the time. All the time. No trust for themselves. I see people in this situation. And of course, not everybody is there where they're always looking outside of themselves. There's different degrees of it. But my point is just that it's a continuation of control and of evolution, moving to spiritual vegan, from angry vegan to spiritual vegan. It is about letting go to an extent, realizing your feelings, allowing your feelings. It is okay, letting it be okay to have the feelings you have. You probably have a strong desire to control things that you are powerless, that you don't have control over. But it's also about when you let go of these things, you're making room for new things to come in. This is like law of attraction, law of the universe. This is how this works, the law of the universe. In this universe, whenever there's a vacuum, things come in to fill it. When you clean your house, dust starts building up. When you create a vacuum, that's probably a bad example, but whenever you create a vacuum, try it out, try different things, experiments, you'll see. If you have an open mind, you'll see it, because it's truth. It's a universal law. Whenever you create a vacuum, something has to come in to fill it. So when you get rid of those things, when you let them go, you have to, you have to accept them first and understand them, allow it yourself to have it. Because otherwise you're just struggling with your subconscious and suppressing things. It's not the same. What to let things go that you don't have control over. There's a vacuum there. And with the law of attraction, you can decide what you're going to attract in there to fill that void that you created, that vacuum. So when you let those things go, you have just made room for a new understanding or an understanding of what you do have power and control over. So I feel that becoming, moving from angry vegan to spiritual vegan, it's not like, black and then white, there's gray, it's a journey, and it's not like black and white where it's one or the other, and it's not like you stay in one and you never move into any shades of gray. I get angry, sure, I get angry, But it's about becoming more and more spiritual, more and more empowered, more and more connected to source, more and more empowered with true empowerment, and less this false stuff, this ego stuff, these control battles that you just can't win. It's about letting go of what you can't control, genuinely letting go of it, and embracing your true empowerment, the things that you do have control over, and shaping them in the way that you want to, in the way that you want to live, the way that you want to be, creating that, and doing it in alignment with, spreading the message of veganism. Being interconnected is another truth, and it's a spiritual truth. We are all interconnected. We are all one when you look at it, just like the cells in your body. They're all individual cells, but they are all making up one body, right? So they're all one body. They're all one, yet they're individual. We are all one individual being, but we are all connected and a part of another greater whole. We are all part of Earth. So doing things in alignment with caring for the greater whole, for Earth, is a very spiritual thing. And it's what's best for us as well, as individuals, as individual beings. So when we shape ourselves to be in our true empowerment and take control of the things that we genuinely have control over, and focus it in on our will in ways to benefit the greater whole and benefit other living beings, we are, evolving spiritually. We are expanding. We're expanding. I think this video is getting kind of long. I think if I'm going to talk anymore about these things, like specific things like angry veganism or anything like that, I'm going to have to make another video to do so. If there's something that you would like to hear my opinion, insights, etc. on specifically, please leave it as a comment below. And I will read those and see what I can do about it. So, yes, I just wanted to share my insight about control. We start feeling powerless and like everyone else has control over us, or like a lot of others have control over us, and we start feeling out of control, like we don't have control over ourselves because these others do. And when people become vegan and they're at the shallow vegan stage, the angry vegan stage to a degree, it's like we're still fighting this control thing. We're still trying to have control. Before we were vegan, we were mindlessly, most of the time, exerting control over animals because they were weaker, and we felt weak from all of the control that was being pushed upon us, the ways that we were being controlled. We felt weak. And so having control over the animals made us feel more powerful. This is just an idea, and a part of it, not the entirety of it by any means, okay? But I think subconsciously that was a part of it. And so when we stopped doing that, we realized, like, whoa, this is wrong. I didn't realize how much suffering was involved. If we realize something inside of us that's not in alignment with our heart or, the truth of the universe, it's not what we want to be doing, and we change and we become vegan, we relinquish that. We say, okay, just because I can do something doesn't mean it's what I should do, and it doesn't mean that it's what I want to do. So we say, no, I don't want to do this anymore. You're not going to make me. I'm in control, and I'm saying, no, I don't want to abuse another for my own, benefit. I don't want to do this, I don't want to have control over animals and choose to have them suffer. And then we start either acting and trying to convince ourselves that it doesn't bother us what other people around us are doing, that it doesn't bother us that others are doing that to animals. Or we start to try to convince other people to stop doing it, and we get angry because we're not able to control them and make them relinquish their control over animals or their domination, make them stop being abusive. So then we're dealing with, again, feeling like we don't have control. You see what I'm saying? And maybe even, we don't have control over ourselves fully as well, because we realize that, we're all one. The earth is a system, and that the suffering of the animals is hurting us as well. And we don't have the control and power to make these other people stop, to make, person A, B, C stop. So we're struggling with that feeling of powerlessness again. Once you start to stop focusing on what you don't have control over and being more optimistic, open-minded, and realizing what you do have control over, and then taking control over it, really cool things start to happen. And I think it's the most effective way to do animal advocacy, and I think it's the most effective way to help people become vegan and to see the results of others around you becoming vegan, to guide and help people, is to realize that you can't control them, you can't make them. And like I said, you didn't hear me say to get others to go vegan, because you don't. It's something that comes from within. But we do have influence on each other. As we know, we are part of one system. As you felt, the way others treat you does affect how you feel inside to a degree, or your thoughts, your experience on this planet. So it works both ways. So again, if you have any comments you want to leave, please do so below. If you have any questions for me, please leave them below. Likes, shares, it's all appreciated. So thank you for all of the ones in the past. And if you're going to like or share this video, thank you in advance. Alright, I'm going to get off now.